Oh, hello. Hello. Hello everybody, how are you doing? I'm wearing my parrot hoodie this week because that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. It says, repeat after me. It's funny because parrots mimic. So this week I was gonna do a video about my favorite crazy animal adaptations, and then I realized I had too many, and that most of them were birds anyway. And I thought maybe I'll just do a video about my favorite bird adaptations, and then I realized most of them were parrots anyway because parrots are kind of my favorite, as if you haven't noticed by now. So I just decided to narrow it down to my top 10 favorite parrot superpowers. And although some of them maybe you wouldn't necessarily consider superpowers, they are really cool adaptations to the different environments and stuff. And when you have them living in all sorts of different environments like jungles and deserts and even like alpine forests in some cases up in the mountains, you are bound to get some interesting variation in there somewhere. So my top 10 favorite crazy adaptations of parrots are as follows, in no particular order. Number 1, the hyacinth macaw's super strong beak. The really large parrots like the big macaws, and more specifically the hyacinth macaw, which is the biggest. They average about 4 feet long with a similar wingspan and like maybe 2.5-ish pounds. They survive in the wild by eating some of the hardest nuts in existence. Macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, palm nuts, coconuts. And so their beaks have gotten to be super sharp and super duper strong. The general estimate is that the average large macaw can exert around 350 to 400 pounds per square inch of pressure. In fact, that's more than half of the average great white shark bite, which tends to come in at around 625 to 669 pounds of pressure per square inch, and when you consider the relative size, that's pretty incredible. Palm cockatoos from Australia have similar capabilities. In fact, their beak is so huge that they actually can't close their mouths all the way. Number 2, their big brains. Many species have been known to use tools to solve problems and are even capable of cognizant speech to some extent. If you don't believe me, check out Irene Pepperberg's studies on African grey parrots, and more particularly Alex, who you've probably heard of. Number 3, golden-shouldered parrots in Australia have developed a sort of a symbiotic relationship with a particular type of moth. They're already a little bit unusual compared to other types of parrots because they build their nests in termite mounds. But even more interesting than that, a particular species of moth is taken to moving in with them and basically sharing an apartment. They lay their eggs so that they hatch around the same time as the golden-shouldered parrot eggs, and then the newly hatched moth grubs eat the chicks' poop. On the bright side, the moth grubs get a free meal and the chicks get a clean nest, so win-win! Number 4, the sexual dimorphism of eclectus parrots. Sexual dimorphism basically means that you can tell the males and females apart just by looking at them. With most birds, this means that the males are really brightly colored and pretty, and the females are generally a little more drab, like grays and browns. But in eclectus parrots, the males are green with some blue and red splashes on their wings, and the females are bright red and blue, or red and purple depending on the subspecies. In fact, they look so different that ornithologists actually used to think they were different species. Now the males are mostly green because they do most of the foraging, and so the green is better camouflage for being in the trees. The red patches under their wings are thought to be for signaling to potential mates and also to rivals. Females, on the other hand, spend most of the time in their nests brooding chicks. So nobody's really quite sure why they're so bright in color, but the general consensus is that they are bright red to warn away potential rival females. Like most other parrots, the eclectus nests in hollow trees, and it can be really tricky to find a hollow that's the right size, or at least close to the right size so that they can then like make it bigger. That big beak I was talking about earlier. So when a female finally finds a good nest site, she has to defend it pretty fiercely against rival females who might want to, well, be a homewrecker, so to speak, obviously. I mean, eclectus parrots are also one of the few species that are not monogamous, so homewrecking is kind of a moot point for them anyway, in the literal sense of the term. So if a female's got bright red feathers that are in good condition, she is clearly being well cared for by her mate, or mates, and is therefore more of a threat to potential rivals who might be looking to boot her out of her nesting site. Number 5, palm cockatoos and their mad musical skills. Male palm cockatoos in the wild find sticks to drum on hollow trees with to attract a mate. Sometimes it'll take them a few tries to find a drumstick that makes the best sounds, and then all the rejects get chewed up and thrown in the hollow tree to impress the female when she comes to see his real estate. After all, good drummers are sexy. Number 6, their awesome feet. All parrots are what they call zygodactylous, which means that they have 2 toes in the front and 2 toes in the back. Lots of other types of birds are zygodactylous too, like woodpeckers and toucans. But for parrots, their zygodactylous feet makes it possible for them to climb around in all directions, hang upside down, manipulate objects very dexterously, ride unicycles on high wires.
Let's see if he can do it. And go. Yeah, good job. Come on, Zach. Come on, Zachary.
Number 7. Lories and lorikeets' brush-like tongue. You've probably seen lories or lorikeets in zoos. You get the little cups of nectar and you feed them and they come and land all over you, and it's, you know, a good time until somebody gets bit. So as you can guess, in the wild they eat mostly nectar and pollen, which sticks to the bristles on their tongue. Kind of like one of those ridged honey dipper things you always see on the Cheerios box. Of course, having such a high sugar diet makes them like really super hyperactive and high energy birds. And the liquid aspect also gives them the superpower of projectile poop. Number 8. Many South American parrots actually eat toxic seeds. Now obviously the toxicity basically means that that seed doesn't really want to be eaten. And you would think that would deter most animals, but not many of the birds that live in the South American jungles. They're able to ingest these toxic seeds by visiting clay lakes and eating the clay. The clay is special because it neutralizes the toxins in the seeds that they eat, and also provides them with extra salts and minerals that they might not otherwise get in their diet. Number 9. Their big booming voices. Many parrots might have a home range of something like 40-odd kilometers or so. So as you can imagine, it can be pretty difficult to keep in contact with your flock. After all, it's not like they have Twitter or anything, and anybody who's ever heard a parrot scream knows how loud they can be. In fact, many of the large cockatoos can reach near jet engine levels of volume. And so many parrots, especially the large parrots, have voices that are designed to carry over many, many kilometers of forest. Obviously, this doesn't translate as well to indoor environments, but that's one of the risks you take if you decide to get a parrot for a pet. And number 10, how could I go an entire video without mentioning their amazing mimicry skills? It's not always totally clear what they use these for in the wild. It could be for confusing predators, attracting mates, keeping in contact with their mates, just for fun. But in most people's homes, they usually use it to get the attention of their favorite humans. Talking often does the trick, especially for people who aren't used to hearing birds talk, but they'll often do other things as well, like mimic crying babies, or the dogs barking, or a telephone ringing, or the smoke alarm going off, or the microwave going ding. They especially like those particular noises because it makes their humans run around in a very amusing fashion. So that is my top 10 list of favorite crazy parrot adaptations. Maybe I'll do this for other kinds of animals too. You guys let me know if you were interested in seeing that. Sorry for my terrible lighting. I thought I had more time before the sun started to go down, and also the weather has not been very nice here over the last several days, but that's Cape Breton for you. Also sending lots of positive thoughts to my buddy Hannah, and all my other writer friends out there who are engaging in the NaNoWriMo crazy person process, ritual thing, dinger, majigger. I admire your dedication. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next week.